with nothing but the power of sound defense and Harrison Butker's foot, the Kansas City Chiefs have clinched their 8th consecutive AFC West title, and we all feel great about it, right? Happy New Weird. It's only weird games.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, and Nate Taylor here with you on 1/1/24. I haven't had to physically write the date down yet, and so far, I guess I am 1 for 1 fittingly here. You guys are getting well hydrated. Let's just all drink in the first 10 seconds of the show. 2024 is the year we all get hydrated. Spilled a little. The Chiefs do win 25-17, and we all will have enough fluids to get us through the show today. Hopefully, I know it's because Seth is so hungover from how hard he went last night. I have no doubt. That's probably Seth. Do you need to do a character disclaimer? Does that technically count as my first accidental slander of the year?
I just want you to know that I went to bed at like 11:30.
Oh, you were close too.
You failed? You failed the mission?
The mission is to just get some sleep.
Overrated.
I do want to let you guys both know, and Josh in particular, that when I actually have a resolution that's related to only weird games.
Oh, really? Oh, tell me about that.
You
are going to start drinking.
I'm going to be nothing but a beam of positivity and encouragement to this podcast from here on out. It doesn't matter how I'm provoked, and I think we can all agree I'm consistently provoked. That I am going to just be supportive. I'm going to be a teammate that sets up other teammates. I'm going to be a teammate that puts his arm around the shoulder of a guy when he, drops a ball into a pick six. I'm going to be a guy that says, hey, you know what? It's going to be okay. And so that's what you can expect from me here in 2024. Also, I've gotten the date wrong like 6 times already. I've been sitting here drafting proposed orders. And I send them out to my long-suffering legal assistant, Sherry. And I just, hey, thanks, Sir Hunks a lot. This
super chat game is about to pop off. I can feel it. Yeah,
it really is.
That's what Sir Hunks-a-lot said was worth talking about here in a minute. But I just want to say,
saying the phrase Sir Hunks-a-lot twice was worth the super chat. I hope.
Well, absolutely, that's worth saying. So I have gotten the date wrong pretty much every proposed order I've sent her, and then I've had to send a follow-up email saying, "Hey, about that last email, just ignore it."
Put a 4 at the end.
Put a 4 there. We are not having a review hearing in March of 2023 because that would be weird. So I'm going to be much more positive and significantly less competent in 2024 if my early returns are any indication with my work day today.
That'll be legitimately hard to do just because of where you currently set both of those standards, but that's fine. The comment here from Sir Hunks-a-lot real quick. Shout out to the super chat. Appreciate it. I successfully watched a full game without looking at Twitter once. I've never been happier during a game. Also, Nate looks quite dapper this afternoon. Nate is wearing like a cardigan of some sort.
Yes, I am.
And Seth is in his KCSN hoodie, and I am in my Tucker D. Franklin made Sleepy Boy Society hoodie. And that's where Seth and I are at. Nate is just simply bringing a higher level of class to this show today. And I feel like, honestly, he's showing us up a little bit.
I'm sorry that I had a lovely New Year's Day brunch with the Jeffries, Mike, Amanda, Birdie Mae. The dogs got together, Maisie and Maple. So I had to look, quite dapper to ring in this new year. I also want to acknowledge, and I've said this, yes, I always try to do my best Mr. Rogers impersonation. It's a wonderful day, literally in the neighborhood. I can quite say. Now, look, I know we're going to talk about the Chiefs winning, the fact that they have, captured another divisional crown, their 8th straight. something that is, the second longest run in NFL history. But I had not quite considered KL368, who suggests, is Marquez Valdez-Scantling a top 5 defensive player of the year nominee? I don't think we've seen a single player slow down Mahomes like this thus ever. Just an insane year for him.
This is like some peak Revis stuff because he's shadowing one guy and
yeah,
just Mahomes.
And he's been more successful than unsuccessful when given the opportunity to thwart the Chiefs' effort.
He is making the offense play with 10 guys without having to be one of the 11 on defense. That's really a great point.
So, look, guys, I know a week ago that I came here and I said someone should sit Patrick Mahomes down and say, look, he's on the field and he's 11 and he's open and you got to throw him the ball. You got to re-ingratiate yourself. You got to trust again, with not necessarily your heart, but with your arm and your eyes, and I'm here to say that as the counselor between Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Patrick Mahomes, it's probably time to sever ties. It's probably
it's
time.
over now. Week 17.
We tried, and I commend you both for trying.
There are irreconcilable differences right now, and it's
correct.
I skipped a letter, Seth. Perfect diction. Seth Keysor would like to judge how I said irreconcilable. I did it again.
That's like me trying to spell rhythm, which I will never do in my adult life. It'll never happen. Or me trying to pronounce, oh no, hang on, it's happening again. Mm-hmm. Outlier, because it is outlier, not outlier.
Hey, wow, that's really exciting.
And I got back in my head again. Anyway, Nate.
And look, everybody knows you guys are going through a supportive time where you needed reconciliation and reconnection and comfort. And you needed to get out there and sort of experience the good times you guys have. I really commend both of you for trying. I really do. But even the supportive friends, even the 80,000 that know you two so intimately, so the interpersonal connections, even they know this can't work anymore. When
you start gesturing in front of everyone,
yeah.
And look, Mahomes has done his fair share of gesturing this year about, hey, put your hands up, hey, come back to me, and all that stuff. But those are in situations.
I could have thrown that pass 3 inches further so he doesn't get tackled.
That's the thing. Patrick Mahomes took the blame for MVS dropping what probably would have been a game-winning touchdown.
Yes.
And he's like, to be fair, I could have put that a little shorter. It's like, well, yes, that is true. It could have been 2 feet shorter and thus even easier to catch. I actually ended up in a very long Twitter debate with someone today about whether or not
I think per the agreement, the quarterback gets to keep Sky Moore. So
Nate reading a comment without reading it out loud. Again, we're 2024 guys. We got to read the comments out loud.
Love Mass says, will MVS get Sky in the divorce? We need to reestablish Marquez Valdez-Scantling's home address, his place of employment. He needs to demonstrate consistency before he can see Sky Moore again on a regular, consistent basis.
Oh, wow. You're going with supervised parenting time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a hardcore move. Nate's out here filing motions for temporary relief 1 minute after he filed the petition. Yeah. He hired a shark. Oh, yeah. If this is what he's telling the world right now is he put at least a $30,000 retainer down, and he is ready for legal battle. So I'm just saying that's a direction to go. I don't know, or direction.
Your Honor, my client will spend time in the offseason trying to again establish a partnership. Obviously there's some parental there's going to be some parental changes, but Patrick Mahomes is he's going to take care of Sky Moore. He has a record of taking care of his receivers. Again, can you tell me where Marquez is going to have a job later this upcoming season, Your Honor? Because if I don't know and you don't know, then and he was put in a position where he was the oldest. He should be giving out wisdom. I know I'm stretching this way entirely too long, but look, he's supposed to be the leader of the group. And I don't know if he's demonstrated split custody at this standpoint. I don't know if he's demonstrated that. So when 80,000 people tell you suck at your job and that you've continued to suck at your job, yeah, there's no real coming back from that. There's just no way to do it. So it's nice that in our first episode of 2024, we've released the negativity and the most awe-striking example of they tried, guys. They really tried. They even simplified the offense, is what they told everybody. They simplified it. They really simplified it. Less guys in motion, less tricky Ricky type plays, less, just less dropping back 50 times and hoping our quarterback goes into creation mode, just going to God mode, all world mode. Less of all that. It's just week 17, and we really need to simplify things. We need to go back to the things that we can hold true, that will get us one touchdown on the opening drive.
That was a nice opening drive, though.
Elite opening drive.
Did you guys think it was fixed for a second?
We didn't have a chance to think. We didn't have a chance to think long enough to have it sink in, Josh. Because on the next series, the ball came out because he asked Chip help for his veteran right tackle making left tackle money instead of his rookie left tackle.
All right, I'm gonna take the Mitch Schwartz stance and defend the chip thing.
Go ahead.
Where the chip goes is dependent on which hash you're on, because you've got more space to bail out on the other side.
But it's your blind side, and he a rookie.
I understand, but I kind of, at this point, I'm kind of an underdog guy. I hide it well. I don't even know if I hide it well. I just said that. Could be true, might not be true. It's just something I'd like to think about myself, and so I'm just going to say it as a fact. I'm a humble man, fan of the underdog, and a handsome man too, honestly, as long as we're just saying things. I feel a little bit, Juwan Taylor's reached that point where he's getting blamed for crap that isn't his fault. Like, it's not like that play call is like, oh, Juwan Taylor needs the help, so we better send the chip. Like, had they been on the left hash, had they been on the right hash? No, left hash. Anyway, sorry.
Yes, they were on the right hash, yes.
Yeah, had they been on the left hash, yes. It would have gone to Wanya. Now, that said, Taylor hasn't been very good this year. I can't have that argument in my mentions again, because I spent all day today. Well, not all day. Honey, if you're watching this, I really did do some work while I was at the office today. Explaining to someone why Marquez Valdes-Scantling should catch the football on a crosser, even when it's behind him. And hey, contorting your body and turning back as you run is not easy for, me and you. That said, like, it's the equivalent. I've tried to think about this all day, because I sat there and I slowed it down and I point out Mahomes got hit right as he threw.
Correct.
From the left, which would explain why the ball drifted a little to the left, because it altered the angle of his arm a little bit. You oh my God, Seth breaking it down better than Tony Romo. Oh gosh. Break me down, Seth. And I mean, so yes, the ball did go a little behind him, but there's layers of difficulty to these things. Mahomes was asked to complete an accurate throw, which normally, under normal circumstances, that throw to a crosser is a really easy throw. When you're getting hit, that's a harder throw. And so just getting it to him to where it's catchable, very catchable, because it's not like he had to reach back a full yard, right? He has to contort his body a little bit while running. Not easy to do. But there's degrees of difficulty to this. And it's just a frustrating thing. I had to slow down the thing and show this person, who's a person I've interacted with many times, I'm sure well-intentioned here, slow it down. No, he really did get hit. It's like, I don't think he got hit. So then I took a screenshot of him being hit with the ball still in his hand. It's like, well, no, he did. It's like, well, that doesn't matter. He needs to deliver an accurate throw. Okay. Well, while you're getting hit, it's an accurate throw to make it catchable if it's while you're getting hit. It's kind of like the equivalent of if you're throwing a 50-yard bomb and it's probably like maybe a yard away from where you'd like it to be. That's not a bad throw because you take into account levels of difficulty here. And MVS, all he had to do was make a catch that every college receiver should make. And some high school receivers. And look, everyone's burying MVS right now. And look, he's played poorly and gotten a lot of snaps still. It doesn't help that later on, that deep ball that I thought was an overthrow, and now I've looked at the all-22.
Nope.
And I mean, that ball was right between his hands. And did he have to lay out for it about 60, 70%? Yep. But he didn't have to dive for that thing. This was not a full-fledged layout. This was a pretty standard-ish. This was a not easy deep ball catch, but not a hard one either. This is like your hands are right there, dude. You can't sorry, we're gonna once again be a visual medium here. When you hold your hands like this, it creates this space. See where my face is going right here?
Let's pretend it's still an audio show when you have your palms facing yourself.
Yes. And I keep them for some inexplicable reason 2 feet apart.
Yeah.
There's a lot of space for a football to sail through there. Whereas if I just bring them together like this, I've created a wonderful little nest for that football to.
A couple of fishes and some bread.
Yes.
That's all we need, Lord. All we need. Hey, you got 2 fish? Say no more. I got this.
Oh, and exactly. Yes, that's where I was going. That was really funny.
I know.
I've just been scrolling through Seth's replies. Seth, leave that in 2023. No, you were an idiot. Because this is the idea that, well, I'm sure they're a well-intentioned person. I'll save you and them the trouble, but the next time you spend 45 minutes of your only life arguing with someone who just wants to troll you and make you angry on the internet, just mute them. Just mute this dude who's got a couple of other tweets that I think are a couple descriptors that I think are a decent flag that maybe it's not worth your time. And you're like, no, I'm going to convince this one guy. I'm going to take time out of my busy life. I'm going to spend time on making one guy maybe believe that I might have a point that Patrick Mahomes has been more than good enough for MVS this year. I'm going to change his mind with my life hours.
Well, full disclosure, I was working on other stuff at the same time and I kept coming back to it. And I really would like to believe that most people, when they are presented with visual evidence,
facts, details.
Yep. And I also treat Twitter occasionally like the public square a bit, to where I'm not always just thinking about the people who I'm arguing with, but I'm thinking about the audience there. If I'm in a debate as to whether or not life has meaning, I know my opponent probably won't change his mind. But you know what? All these bright-eyed youngsters who are just wondering whether life has meaning, those are the minds I'm looking to reach and say, hey, just in case you thought this might be true. The comment is funny because it's probably a 12-year-old that Seth is just going back and forth. But maybe that 12-year-old learned.
It's more embarrassing. If it was a 12-year-old, I think you would actually have like a case of being like, well, this is still a young idiot and not an old idiot. And a young idiot, I might take the time to try to bring along. I think that's a good use of your time. I just see how many tweets are in this thread and how few of them are quote tweets, and I just don't understand what you're doing, Seth.
I just want to believe that I can. This Lev Mass, who has consistently some of the best comments here. The optimistic pastor energy is on full display.
Because you're going from street corner to street corner, man. You are stopping at every person with a megaphone, and you're like, no, I will be here for 45 minutes.
I'm the guy that is at, I don't know, they used to do this at Metallica concerts. I'm street preaching people trying to walk into the Metallica concert, and it's going about as well as you'd expect. People aren't in the mood. It's not the time or the place.
So you just need a nice visual aid of a wicker basket, small, we ask, and just say, did you know what God did with this basket, what Jesus did with these loaves and these fish? Are you hungry? Are you hungry, ma'am? Are you hungry for the truth? Are you hungry, sir, for the Lord's wisdom? Because we'll give it to you. You may not want it, but do you need it?
The Lord gave you free will, and I'd like to take that from you.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean,
I'd like to make you believe this.
Do you know what he did to the disciples? He said, come with me. Come with me. It's already been written. It's already been written.
Yeah, I will give you the rest of understanding that
later.
MVS really should have caught that.
That's later.
So this guy said, I love Mahomes, but he's not Jesus Christ. And Seth was like, yeah, I think I'm going to get through to this guy. I love Mahomes, but he's not Jesus Christ. He doesn't walk on water, and it was a bad throw. And Seth said, let me go cut a 10-second slow-mo clip of this throw so I can prove him wrong, when the only people who will see this tweet are people that follow both you and that guy, and maybe because it's Twitter, some sort of NC-17 bot.
But Josh, sometimes MVS has got to get out that boat. He's got to see it for himself.
It's scary, man. But you just gotta hop out.
I want Seth to get out of the boat.
You gotta come. Hey, you gotta come out that boat and see what it's like. Cause you were there. Hey man, I was with you on Friday. I said, hey man, you blacked out. Sometimes you gotta get out that boat so you can black out again, so you can have a actual spiritual experience. But don't look at that water. Don't look at that water. And the ball went through his hands again.
Looked at the water. He took his eyes off. He sank down. And he's now reached the point where he looks back. He says, Pat, save me. And Pat at this point is just standing back there shaking his head like, I think we're going to let this dude sink. We've given up. And look, MVS, that drop aside, it was never going to happen next year. They were always going to use his contract to clear $12 million. I can't believe I have forced us to spend this much time on this.
I did this to us.
Things I really like.
I brought him back in the counseling so I could say, I'm wasting your money and I'm wasting your time. And I need to look for new clients that I can serve in a much better way than you two. Because we tried, guys. I really tried. Now, Josh, what was the best part of Sunday's game? Was it the idea that the Chiefs actually came back from a double-digit deficit and that people nowhere are talking about it? Or was it something else? Was it the fact that Harrison Butker had his own sermon called a press conference after the game where he was just like, look, man, sometimes I'll be kicking that ball and I'm like, God, please let it go through. And I kind of want to relate to him. I'm like, look, man, I do the same thing on the typewriter, baby. I do the same thing on the keyboard. Lord, how are we going to get from point A to point B today?
Yeah. Who knows?
I wish God wouldn't have taken a PSI out of those Patriots balls. But look, man, I mean, Butker's got a great view on it. And apparently God loves the Chiefs because he's made a lot of kicks through the power of the armor of God and the foot plate of the Holy Spirit or whatever.
2024. That is the only way to avoid the darts of the enemy, Josh.
The man.
I'm really happy with the direction this show has gone, by the way. I
know. You're levitating.
I'm eased into the jacuzzi of my comfort zone right now.
I'm kind of hoping I might be able to get a hand up there.
Yeah. Ultimately, I do think Ross Sawyer is correct about we're gonna get to Snead. Don't worry. But I don't know. Like, it was a weird game to watch. I know what the show's title is, but like, Josh, like, what? Like, I haven't listened to the postgame show. I'm gonna do it, but like, other than to say like, hey, they're in the playoffs and they won the division. Woohoo! Whoopee!
The takeaway from this game for me on like on a vibe standpoint, on a big picture standpoint, is that this game gives you a t-shirt, a hat, and an exhale. Like, that is what I don't think we learned anything.
This guy is a professional, ladies and gentlemen.
It's right there. That's just off the top, too. It's not a change in any path of any player. MVS had a couple more disasters, and so we go ahead and we tell them we're gonna stop wasting their money in counseling.
Yep.
You get L'Jarius Sneed rolling out of bed, apparently shutting down Jamar Chase in the wrong way. I don't know. I'd love to ask Jamar Chase what the right way to shut him down is that won't continue the bleep talk.
Well, you got to obviously whip off your helmet and fight him right there on the field, or you don't want any. Like, that was I think he was kidding, but anyway, go ahead. I don't know.
And also, like, not that I want to fight. Yeah, it's like, not that I'd want to fight Jamar Chase, but I also wouldn't want to fight L'Jarius Sneed. So, like, I'm not sure that I don't think either one of them should be rooting for fisticuffs.
Is it weird that Jamar Chase doesn't remember where L'Jarius Sneed went to school?
It's sorry. A little weird.
He didn't go to LSU. He went to the other school. Yeah, he's ready to fight anybody. Believe me, anybody.
You feel those heavy hands on your neck at the line of scrimmage? We're going to go ahead and deregulate that and let him use those same hands.
Yes.
No, thank you. No, thank you. That man, he's got power there.
Sorry. There's a tech in his name, and he wasn't a mechanic out there, okay? Like, come on. It's a tech in his school's name.
Even the good stuff here was like the Chiefs offense being pretty good between the 20s and then not being able to actually score touchdowns. Even that's familiar, just not to the tone of 6 field goals being the result. But let's talk about L'Jarius Sneed since we're here.
Okay.
Because I don't know if he showed us something we hadn't seen, but he passed another test out of the training room essentially. Seth, I saw somebody ask a couple. I don't need to put the absolute point on the question of like, who would you rather have, Sneed or McDuffie, or because the Chiefs right now have a good problem having both of them, or Chris Jones or L'Jarius Sneed. But with the entire year that he has had, are you willing to adjust? Preseason, I thought he was gone. I thought this was the last year with L'Jarius Sneed, and I no longer know if I can believe that.
Well, there's never been a bit. I'm gonna say something.
Actually, you're not. We need to take a break. Let's take a break, Nate.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
I was walking Seth up to it, and you leapt in front of him to take the bullet.
This has been a genuinely spiritual podcast for us, and greater love hath no man.
Yes,
one lay down his life for his friend. And Nate was just, to mix metaphors, he was the one set of footprints in the sand that threw himself in front of that old rugged cross. Nope, I think nope.
Now we've gone too far.
That is full.
Where the line was, and I crossed it anyway.
Nate, what do you need to say about L'Jarius Sneed?
You got to remember, kids. I started covering this team full time in 2018. Orlando Scandrick was one of their top quarterbacks. I cannot stress this enough. They, in the 2018 season, said, you were undrafted. You had training camp with the Cowboys. You go cover Tyler Lockett. We have no one else, Jarvarius. You go do it. You have to remember, Steven Nelson had the mentality of a diva corner, but he lacked the talent and discipline to actually do the job at a high level. This is the best cornerback play that I've seen, since covering the team. And that even involves, and I said it, or I wrote it, I should say, but like, even when Jamar Chase was like, cool, it's not L'Jarius Sneed anymore. Oh, it's just Trent McDuffie. It's just more
they at
problems.
One point doubled him, and doubles are rare in the NFL. But they at one point had McDuffie drop into zone while Sneed was on coverage on Chase, and the man was getting doubled by legitimately 2 of the best corners in the NFL. I've never even seen that. You're not gonna believe this, but he wasn't open. Like,
no, he wasn't.
That's such a crazy thing to do.
Yes, and of course. There was one play early in the game where they tried to trick Jake Browning, where Sneed blitzed off the perimeter, and Jake Browning's like, "Okay, that's a bit too far." But they did it just to do it. Which I feel like Steve Spagnuolo's gotten to a very comfortable place of, I just do stuff in the first half, guys. I really do. Like, I just do stuff and I'm comfortable because we're not going to give up the big play, but we're just pushing buttons. And then in the second half, I slowly squeeze the life out of you. But look, I mean, L'Jarius Sneed probably had his most impressive game of the season when you consider he didn't know if he was going to play when he woke up yesterday. He told me, fellas, in the locker room that he made the decision. He made it really clear to me that this was my decision, not Andy Reid's, not Rick Burkholder, the head athletic trainer. This was my decision. And I said, well, when did you make it? And he said he literally did God, I can't think of the character, but he literally did the guy from The Wire where he said, shit, 125. Which, ladies and gentlemen, is 2 hours before kickoff.
With 30 minutes before an active's going down.
Yes, and 30 minutes before an active. So he tried his best to say, no, I did this. This was a me decision. Yes, they had me test some things out. Yes, I didn't practice all week. I know what Andy's rules are, but basically I said, no, I got to have this one. Now, look, if they're playing the Falcons, he might not be out there. Hell, if the opponents were switched, right? Say it was the Chargers yesterday and the Bengals to end the season, he probably might not be out there. But he heard that man talking and he said, look, I feel good today. I don't feel great, but I feel good enough to do my thing. And then he got in his head. He pushed him around. He continued to push him after plays and systematically removed him from the Bengals game plan. The Bengals didn't try to get him the ball a ton in the third and fourth quarters. And I just thought it was odd because it was Zach Taylor kind of conceding that we need to go elsewhere. And that is an affront because guys, he's your best skill position player. Try to use him. Try to get him the ball in some degree. So yeah, his best performance of the season, that even includes what I think before yesterday, I thought his best game on film was when he really saw Justin Jefferson in real life, in color, and just said, nah, man, nah, I'm playing at the peak of my powers. And you have to remember that involves Kirk Cousins being on the field. The Vikings were pretty healthy. TJ Hawkinson was on the field. And he just said, no, I'm not doing that. I know he had as good of a game as you could ask for anybody against Tyreek Hill. But the fact that Jamar Chase has honestly been the boogeyman throughout this rivalry, and the fact that he just vanquished him in a way that he drove the man literally crazy after the game, to where the man said literally crazy stuff you want to fight? You want to fight? And obviously there's a second part of this that I know weirdly involves me. But no, it was a great performance and something that actually galvanized the defense. He inspired his teammates in a way that is truly memorable and was honestly necessary for them to win that game yesterday.
Nate is perfectly framed. Was it Aaron Ladd's tweet of the video clip, I believe?
Yeah, it's I never know when I'm on camera or when things are gonna pop off on the internet, but I'm
glad you were where you're supposed to be.
I was in prime position, and we must credit Aaron Ladd for excellent framing. I always tell the people no one, I mean, no one cares. Some people are like, hey, that's you in the corner. And I'm like, yes, trying to get that man to say anything of value. Whoever that man chooses to be. But yeah, Aaron Ladd did me a solid last night. So I gotta get this guy a drink.
You should. Yeah. Hanging out with Aaron's a good thing to do. I mean, I feel like that's a win-win for everybody. But anyway, Nate's making the perfect expression to what L'Jarius Sneed is saying post-game. If you haven't seen it, it's all over Twitter. It's worth taking a peek at. So Seth, back to the original, your side that I was going to debate you into running into the break throw on. With the defense all together in this game, they shut out the Bengals in the second half. They have one short field that bites them, which is the model at this point. And L'Jarius Sneed does everything that Nate just laid out there. Before we come back around to the offensive side, what you've already written about over in the newsletter, anything else, or just want to wax poetic on the corners more on the defensive side?
I think one of the best things that's happened to L'Jarius Sneed this year, I think he's playing at a higher level than he's played throughout his career in terms as a coverage guy. One thing that's happened for him is the existence of Trent McDuffie. And part of that means Sneed is not playing out of the slot as much, which means his particular style of cornerbacking, which is hit now, hit later, hit a few more times. They're still moving, hit them again, follow them to the sideline, hit them, go to their hotel room and attack them once the lights are out. Like he plays an unbelievably physical brand of cornerbacking. And part of that, and I've talked about that before in terms of as a pure coverage guy, he's a good pure coverage guy, but not an incredible one because his hips are just a little stiffer than I'd like there. But he's real strong. He's real fast. And when he's allowed to play very physically, that just like, so you remember the Legion of Boom? Ever heard of it? It was one of the things that happened for them was they achieved this reputation, right, as being super physical, etc. And eventually, a guy like Richard Sherman, who was a great cover corner in his own right, but when he was allowed to maul guys, became a borderline elite, unstoppable guy, and including like guys like. They had multiple corners across from him over the years, but just multiple big, strong corners that when they were allowed to play really, really, really physical styles of football, it accented their ability. And one of the best things that can happen to you in the NFL as a corner is if you develop a reputation. Because if you develop a reputation, the refs are going to be a little more likely to swallow those whistles a bit. And that's something that's happened with Sneed that's helped him out a bit. You know, he did still pick up that pass interference that was clearly a pass interference, but that happens. Spags has been really clear. I'll take one of those every game if it means coverage like this. It raises an interesting question because if that allows him to continue to play his style, it elevates his ceiling as a corner. I do think some of the conversations about him following opponents' receivers, I think are a little bit overstated because he does, but he doesn't do it on an island, which you shouldn't in the modern NFL. Just don't do that. That's insane. So it's not quite prime Revis stuff, but in the modern NFL, it's as close as you're probably going to get.
And I think it gets a higher grade just because very few corners are given the opportunity to do it, right?
Right. They don't ask corners to do that anymore because it's generally a bad idea. The receivers in the league today, they're just freaks. But he has the ability when he can get to the line with guys and he doesn't have to play in the slot all the time. He still will occasionally, but he doesn't have to play guys consistently in the slot where they're able to back up a yard or two to where he can't get his hands on them. Because that's his thing. He just punches guys as they're coming off the line. And that's got to be exhausting and annoying.
And so not to get super contracty, but that part of the game doesn't age out as you get a little older, right? I mean, like if you can keep hassling guys at the line, I don't know. Right. Again, we're talking about his first contract. He's also got those tricky old knees. So I don't know. He's an interesting
And
case.
There's a bunch of things to take into account there. And I'll circle back now to the thing you initially asked. What do you do about him? He's in a contract year. The Chiefs, my understanding is they absolutely love him and they have for years, but what do you do with him? Because the reality of the situation, and I think this will be good offseason fodder, we'll see how the season plays out, is it's not L'Jarius Sneed or Trent McDuffie. McDuffie's on a rookie deal for like 3 more years. He's cheap. It's L'Jarius Sneed or Chris Jones. Probably can't keep both because, here's the problem. They're both premium position guys, right? Because one's a pass rusher, one's a corner. They're both excellent players. There's some differences in their situation that will probably just like break down point by point. The thing that Sneed's done this year, gaining that reputation, it allows him to play his style, which allows him to really shut down especially when combined with the way Spags will protect him just a little bit here and there. A little bit here and there with the safety help over the top, a little bit here and there. Oh, they moved into the slot. Let's give you a snap off. Let's let McDuffie deal with them. You know, and that's the other thing. When you've got another corner who's excellent and then 2 more corners that you really trust, you can take a mental breather for a minute. It's like, I'm going to cover. Who the crap's that guy? Like, yeah, sure. Why not? Now, in this case, it was T. Higgins sometimes, although he was in and out of the game.
Yeah.
So that raises his value too. I don't know. I came into the season saying, hey, look, they draft and develop corners really well. What can you do? They've already found a star corner in Trent McDuffie. I assumed Snead's time would be done. They've designed this defense about as much around their coverage as they have their pass rush. And cornerbacks, even star corners. And I'm not sure Snead will get full-fledged top of the market with this being the first year that he's gotten this reputation. I don't know. The market's weird when it comes to guys.
Yeah, it sort of depends on the timing, but
it does.
It's hard to say at this point. Again, we're not in the offseason yet, and I haven't talked to enough people. But like, I see obviously a lot of people in the comments saying, you know, the easiest step is to probably franchise tag him, but that also expedites potentially Chris Jones's exit from the franchise. So you also have to think about that too. And so, you know, you'll have that decision up until about, you know, early March, I think. But yeah, you also know who's younger, and you also know who technically is cheaper, and it's the player we're talking about right now.
And that's the big thing. The top of the market per year, and this is, you know, it's such a silly thing because it ignores guarantees and that kind of stuff. Top of the market per year for a corner is 21. Top of the market pass rusher is 30.
Yep.
And I mean, that matters a lot too. And so they're going to have a tough decision to make, but it's a great decision to make now because you've got this defense fully functional and fully operational. I don't know if Brian Cook is going to be back. That would be incredible. My understanding his ankle was sideways, but
that's not your understanding. That's your eyes.
Yeah, my lying eyes. Well, my eyes also said that Mahomes got hit while he released the ball, and I was told that's not true. Again. And so
that's about to go on a 4-hour tweet thread about the direction Brian Cook's foot was pointing in.
Well, the great thing about me is that I'm never petty about it. That's I'm just making things up about myself. So anyway, that's my thoughts on Snead. He really has taken his game to another level, while simultaneously, I think it is important to acknowledge how much he's benefited from getting that reputation, because that allows you to just be a little more grabby. That allows you. Remember how mad we all got in the Jets game because what's his name?
Sauce Gardner.
Gardner.
Sauce hold on every snap.
Just grabbing guys down the field. He's 20 yards down the field, grabbing guys' jerseys. And you know what? You've earned it. You've earned the benefit of it.
You're a Pro Bowl player.
If Mahomes is pointing at a guy being held, that's probably going to get called in the next few snaps. That's how it works. There's the human element. So it's a really good problem to have, like you said, Josh.
Let's talk about just what's been a problem this year and the wide receivers and where we stand now. We've talked about MVS. We have given them permission to start seeing other people. But there was good news again from Rashee Rice, and something that Seth's already written about, largely around Rashee Rice, up in the Chief of the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com. That's right. It's there for January 1st, kicking off the new year. Did I say something wrong, Seth? You made a look of confusion like you didn't know you wrote something and went on the website today.
No, my phone is dinging at me.
Okay, but not about me saying something wrong. Cool. That's all I needed to know.
No.
But
dang it, woman, you're obsessed with me. And my wife's texting. Anyway, what were you saying?
Okay. Are things okay at home?
You care to read one so you could dig a deeper?
Do you need me to bring your gym stuff? Maybe meet there and then on the way back drop the car off for Tucker. Or you need to come here first. Let's drop a car off first. Man, that's a lot of options.
Yeah, that's a lot of options.
Are we right now privy to hearing the conversation about you starting a new gym journey on January 1st?
No, I go to the gym and insert joke here.
What do you do there?
He mostly supervises.
He goes to the gym, he drops Jazz off, and then he goes home.
Hitting on my wife, you know. No, I usually just
you're in a suit. You just stand in the corner.
Are you looking at my wife? Hi, my name is Seth.
Yeah. Hey, I've got this card. Yep, that does say assistant county attorney. And if you're wondering if that means prosecutor, it does. What's your first and last name and date of birth again? You know, things like that. No,
Jazz,
I genuinely
Jazz is actually in a horrible turn of events, getting crushed by a bench press. Seth will not intervene because he's like a security guard on a field. He's only looking at the crowd, so he's not actually watching the action. He is just fully scanning for potential threats.
No, what I do is I continuously marvel about the fact that I can do all the same things that I did 10 years ago, but if I don't change the way I eat, it makes no
impact.
Yep. Oh, it's nothing. It's like, man, I've burned 1,000 calories and my gut's like,
did he just eat another donut? What is he doing?
Like,
what is he doing?
Eat that Tombstone pizza and you're gonna love
it. Yes. Please tell me whether Connor Emery will coach next season for the Chiefs. Kevin, look at
this
me.
This is a Kevin Marshall super chat. This man paid $10 to ask you this question, Nate.
Kevin,
thank you very much for doing that. It goes to great people.
Kevin, look at me.
Look at Nate.
Is Matt Nagy the coordinator next year?
Yeah.
So it's going to go one of two ways. If Matt Nagy is a coordinator, Connor Emery should and likely will keep his job. This is an Andy Reid thing that we can track since his Philadelphia days. The only time this man changes assistant coaches is if they leave somewhere because their coordinator left somewhere or clean the house. Okay, and that happened in 2019 with the defensive staff. Nobody stayed other than I'm not going to mention his name.
Fair.
Nate, do you think there's a chance that Matt Nagy's not the offensive coordinator next year?
That's not what I said, Josh.
I know.
I
know. I heard you just asked a question, but I'm asking the question. Ask her a question.
They better score some points in January.
Troy Thornton for $10 super chat says, "Please tell me whether Andy Reid will coach for the Chiefs next season." Nate, your thoughts?
He still like them State Farm commercials, right? Now I know you got to win to get them, but you can have them. You could probably sneak another year. They've had some good ratings per some people that I've talked to. Coach is lovable. What would he do next October? So yeah, he'll be the coach next season.
That's a $10. That's a $10 nuggie right there from
that is a $10 nuggie right there. Hey, shout out to people for starting off 2024 with super.
Yeah, you guys are way too great.
Yeah,
Tammy,
hey, Seth, you're really messing up the vibe, brother.
Tammy will look that man in the eye and say, "You get out there and you coach them boys."
Yeah. You mean
you're not going to end on this one
home all the time?
You're not going to end on a wild card loss to the Bills, are you? Not at Arrowhead.
Not at Arrowhead. Not on this watch. Do we all start rooting? Okay, what's the most chaotic thing? I know that's Thursday show, but the most chaotic thing is the Bills got to win to get the 7. What?
Don't they if something happens? Aren't they either like the 2nd seed
or the 7th? Yes, or they're out.
Seth.
Yes. What you doing, baby?
Come on.
We asked this man to sex it up, and then he looked back at his partner and said, "Put me in a better mood." I'm sorry. The counselor said, "Make it sexy."
I can't believe somebody asked Sean McDermott about Josh Allen's problems, and he said, "We're still figuring that out." Like, I don't know if you guys saw my tweet.
Yes, I did.
But Sean McDermott is going through coordinators like Henry VIII went through wives. I mean, it is straight up like fired, beheaded, died, fired, beheaded. Survived. Like that's defensive and offensive coordinators.
His coordinators.
His coaches all died of dysentery.
Nate Dogg says Gardner Minshew at Arrowhead is what we want. Okay. Yeah, Gardner Minshew's going to walk in that building saying, "I'm
Colts,
taking
right?
everything." Yeah, that's the Colts. Yeah,
I don't want the Colts in the playoffs.
Everything.
I believe in curses now. Well, no, actually, they beat them the last time. Never mind.
How about Mason Rudolph, Seth? Can we have Mason Rudolph at Arrowhead? I'd enjoy that. I think that'd be pretty funny.
Mason Rudolph. Now, by the way, did you hear what NFL Network said?
It's revenge game.
A red hot Mason Rudolph keeps his job. I love this stupid sport. I love how silly it is, where we have to say hot hand. You don't have to say that. There are 52 guys on the team, okay? He did fine. Mason Rudolph did fine, and he can keep playing football next week. His hand is not hot. Look at Joe Flacco's hand. Joe Flacco got flames.
Joe Flacco is like, that scene in the most recent Godzilla movie.
Oh,
where he's walking back towards maybe this is just Godzilla King of the Monsters. My son
There's also like another new Godzilla movie that's apparently very, very good that I haven't seen yet. So
the new Kong one?
Godzilla -1 is the one that people love very much.
He got so much fire in his hands. He decided to touch Quentin's hair. He decided to touch it because his hand was so hot. He just thought he could touch. He just thought he could touch another man's head from another. Wait, not even his teammate. What are we doing? And I just cooked you, boys. Let me pat you on the head real quick. No.
Joe Flacco also being the master of there he is.
There he is.
Here comes trouble is the most perfect thing ever.
Big dog. How you doing? How you doing, big dog?
It's kind of nice to see a player reach that like almost seeming kind of like a normal type dude reach that like late 30s, almost 40s stage where you just become completely comfortable with who you are as a human. It's like, hey buddy, how you doing? And you just don't even care. It's like being like how Kirk Cousins has been his whole life. Like some of us don't master that energy till we're almost 40. Right. Kirk Cousins was like in coming out of college, like I've got stronger dad energy than any of you idiots.
I'm sorry.
And Seth is definitely the most likely of us to take a quick little nap during a show like Joe Flacco is maybe doing on the sideline. I could definitely see Seth just.
Nate Dogg said Sean McDermott is going through coordinators like suicide bombers.
Good God.
It's just incredible. Oh, and you win comment of the day, Nate Dogg.
Yeah, no. That's hard.
Hey, I need you to do something for me. Follow on it. Follow on everything. I gotta keep us moving forward. Take me out. Where's Leslie Frazier? Where's Leslie?
I think a wonderful year off, just rediscovering his love of life.
We're not asking where's Wallace anymore. Where's Leslie Frazier, the one who was keeping this thing together?
Hey Seth. Where's Rashee Rice? Is that, hold on, squinting eyes, looking down. Hold on, is that number 4, 20 yards running downfield? There's Chad Henne back on the field running. Was he 15, 20 yards downfield? I can't remember. I might have to find who it was because this tweet was so good. But somebody said, I thought Rashee Rice disappeared like one of the baseball players into the field of corn and field of dreams when he just walked like 15 yards downfield. That tweet made me so happy.
That reminded me of your comment earlier this year where it's like, well, it's just a real shame that his arms and legs don't work once he goes past 5 yards. No, Rashee Rice with his first deep ball target of the year on a sight adjustment because of a busted coverage, which that's a big deal. I'm going to take this one we've got another super chat. Thanks for the super chat, Grimsum. I don't know what a Grimsum is, but fair enough. Is Steve Spagnuolo still here next year? Unless he gets offered a head coaching job, if they let Steve Spagnuolo walk away, I'm going to be irate. And I haven't even heard his name come up. I feel like Spags is kind of in that sweet spot where he's done it before. He's
the honorary Wade Phillips of the NFL right now.
Yeah, unless you're Josh McDaniels, you don't get more chances. Because apparently you've got to fail so badly that people are like, that must have been something weird. He must have had stuff going on at home or something. Let's give him another shot and see if he can make players so miserable they'll smoke cigars when they win without him.
Hey Steve, I got this weird guy named David Tepper on the line.
You think
Maria, hang up. Maria, hang up. Maria. Tell him I'm not here and hang the phone up.
Man. But now Spags, it would shock me if he went anywhere. I think he seems to really like his job. Like there are some people, they just they're excited to be at work. And depending on the job you have, everyone kind of hates them for that. Cause it's like, really? We're that. But he's one of those people, he's someone that you'd be like, looks like someone's got a case of the Mondays on there, guy. Come on, let's go get after it. And everyone's like, sure, Steve. Look, man, we really like you, but can you just take about 20% off the top for the first 2 hours of Monday, buddy? We're tired. And he just seems happy.
You know what? I totally understand where you're going, but I'm going to disagree ever so slightly. I think he dials it exactly to the brim of that every time. I think Spags has the perfect level of love, happy to be here on a Monday energy. I don't think it's ever too much. I think it's always perfect. Also, real quick, shout out to Brett Parker, who tweeted, I thought Rice disappeared into the grass like a scene from Field of Dreams if he crossed 10 yards down the field before the ball was thrown. That is such a good comment. So back to that.
On a side note, just one more thing before I do the actual analysis. Mahomes saying afterwards, we need, we'll have to show him how to get those knees up so he gets to the end zone next time. it's been a while since Patrick Mahomes playfully alphaed one of his wide receivers.
And the last time he did it, it was also to Rashee Rice.
Very true. Yeah. Yeah.
It is. And so you can tell, like, if anyone's never been in this type of professional environment before, if you need to know which dude Mahomes likes the best, there's your answer. This is like the guy that he's teasing. That's the guy, not the guy that he's putting his hand on his helmet going, why? So Rashee Rice, he gets targeted. It's a deep route. Shout out to Sam McDowell, wrote a great article on it. He saw, and it's right there. They were so nice to show the all 22 during the broadcast. The Bengals deep safety to his side of the field rotated like he was rotating to the other side of the field. The problem is, I think he was supposed to rotate the other way into 2 deep. Instead, he decides to play single high for God only knows what reason. Corner gives up outside leverage, which means he's essentially letting Rice get a little bit of leverage inside. Yes. Well, the problem with that,
because my safety help is right. Where the hell are you?
Yeah. Well, and you actually saw a perfect example of how important leverage is with the way corners play these guys, because they're too fast, right? You can't keep them from going inside, outside, and right through you unless you're L'Jarius Sneed and you pull out brass knuckles and just start beating him within an inch of his life at the snap, which that works. And I've seen him do it. I'll never forget where play, by the way, where Stephon Diggs ended the play like 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage because Sneed just got him like he was a blocking sled. It was awesome. So you see why leverage is so important, because if you take outside leverage and they see it and you don't have safety help, they can just run a straight line and there is nothing you can do about it. And Mahomes, to his credit, he made the same adjustment. That's huge. They also had a really nice adjustment earlier in the game against zone coverage that Sam did a great job writing about. But the biggest thing is, it turns out when you accelerate really well, you don't need to get separation 50 yards down the field. You need to get separation those first 20 yards, and Rashee Rice can do that. Now, did he get caught? Sure. Does he have like this huge fifth gear? He does not. But I guess, I will settle for 60-yard gains. I'll settle for it. With Tyreek Hill, how's that? Yes.
The first 60-yard gain of the entire season in week 17.
And that it's so cool.
Per next gen stats, which I was like, next gen stats. I didn't need the per. I have eyes.
I knew
eyes.
I knew like the next closest was probably some 45-yard gainer to Justin Watson.
It might have been Richie James.
Yeah.
Wasn't he 47 or something?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, by the way, I have to correct myself. That wasn't a Mills concept that James had the big gain on. It was a dagger concept. Anyway, that's been bothering me for weeks.
Good. Retire.
So it's really cool seeing Rice take advantage of those opportunities.
People pay for your newsletter.
How dare you?
Sorry,
some of them pay as much as $1 a month in perpetuity forever.
God dang it.
You said Mills instead of dagger.
So
I got a dagger for you.
So if I were Chiefs fans, I wouldn't.
Don't. I mean,
this was.
I think we're gonna pause for this.
Go ahead.
Ross Sawyer with Super Chat. Hey, shout out to Super Chats. If you want us to stop in our tracks, and this is a lot of people that aren't good at stopping in their tracks, and just pay attention to you and you alone. I don't know what I said, but whatever the phrasing was.
No, go ahead. I'm gonna next week. I'm gonna do some $10 super chats that just says ignore this and keep talking about what you're talking about. I'll just be Joshua Brisco and it will say that.
Oh wow! Can I create a rock so heavy I cannot lift it? We'll find out next week on Only Weird Games. So Ross Sawyer says, was last week Kelce's final regular season game? I don't have any insight into this. Nate, make me feel better because he still gets open.
Yeah, and it is odd that Patrick hasn't targeted him as much as usual. In particular, the one that they showed of him clearing one part of the zone into the next part of the zone and him being open. Before Mahomes sort of checked it down, as Tony Romo said, just a little too soon, baby, because Kelce was open. What have I been saying? What have I been saying all year, guys? This is the last great year of Travis Kelce. This is it. It really doesn't matter whether he retires this year or next year. Obviously, there's a theory going around that him and Jason can be the first brothers to ever be first ballot Hall of Famers together. You just want to advance that 5 years out, 6 years out, whatever. Obviously, I'm the guy that told you the 4 sprays in the locker room in Minneapolis. And now I'm going to tell you another scene from the locker room yesterday. Much of the celebration had already occurred with the hats and the T-shirts. It was a very jovial locker room. Guys are obviously eager to play in the postseason. Travis Kelce, as I've said before, reminds me a lot of Roy Kent in really, I think a fair way. He looked tired. He looked spent. And he didn't walk with the same gusto and the same bounce that I'm used to or accustomed to after a win. Obviously, he knows there's a lot that he has to do, both as a leader and as obviously a productive player moving forward. I'm going to advise that Andy Reid give him a week off. I know statistically what that means. But if your goal is to try to be a valiant champion in a repeat attempt, he needs a week off.
16 yards. 16 yards. 16 yards.
I don't care. Rashee Rice has a better personality than Jamie Tart did in season 1. I'm just gonna go there. He's Rashee Rice is a nice gentleman.
Rashee Rice might be season 3 Jamie Tart.
He's
season
3 Jamie Tart. He's saying you got to go through me, not to me.
Yeah,
that's right. I get those references now.
But he's struggling. And could I have pulled Travis Kelce aside, and could we have had a conversation? Yes. Did I choose to do that? No. Just let him go, because you can tell. I don't know if the end is near, but I do know this has been his most trying season of his career. And he might be the most fascinating character, the most fascinating person of this upcoming postseason run, because I think people need to start savoring it now. And when the season started, I thought I was a little bit ahead of the statistical age curve. But we're here, and he'll have to do something magnificent to have another season that is better than the one he's having this season. That is how hard it is to maintain this level of greatness. So, I chose not to talk to Travis Kelce because I just thought he needed to. I just know how much of a break he needs and where his body is and how tough this season has been. So I made a decision that, I have to make all the time in the locker room. What is most valuable today versus what is most valuable the entire course of the season? And I chose to go to L'Jarius Sneed versus spending time with Travis Kelce. But I saw the way he left the locker room, and it wasn't like a guy who had just won his 8th straight, division title. It was a guy who had a long day at the office and wants to take a breather because, man, he knows he's got to summon. To watch these guys in a couple weeks try to summon what made them champions when other teams are chasing them down is going to be incredibly fascinating. So there's your answer. I know it's not what you want, but that's my perspective being there.
And then the super chat from Troy Thornton again, who says Seth's made more money in super chats today than he makes monthly from his newsletter because of the low prices. Thank you, Troy.
The lowest prices.
The lowest.
That's interesting to hear.
He did look fired up in the locker room video, and then it was.
Well, I actually There is. He feels like he has to be on, right?
Of course,
and
yeah.
There's a certain amount of energy that comes with being on, and that energy becomes harder and harder to find. as you get a little older.
Yeah.
And that is interesting to me. I'm trying to not in advance, and this is taking a dark direction. Dang it. I'm trying to not in advance get prematurely angry for the missteps, some of them this year, placing an inordinate amount of physical and mental burden on Kelce.
Yes.
When this should have been a continuation of what they've started doing the last 2 years, taking a little bit of that off him and saying, hey, you can be great if we're only asking. Like 2 years ago, they started with because if you go back 3 years ago, he took 90-something
when Tyreek Hill had as many targets as the Chiefs have ever thrown to one receiver, but yet still wanted the ball more. Yeah, I remember that.
And then he went. Then he goes down to 75% of the targets. Then last year it's 70% or snaps. Then 70% of the snaps. And this year it should have been a continuation of the same thing. And then leading into next year, hey, Travis, you can still be great. Why don't you be great for 60% of the snaps? And it felt like they had this plan, but then the receivers didn't work out. And you saw him in some games this year. He's just turned back the clock and, okay, it's third down. All right, let's do this and whatever. But that is interesting. And I don't know. I don't even know how I feel about that because he's so, I know he needs a break, but there's only 17 other players in NFL history who have 8,000-yard seasons.
True.
And
it's not worth it because his body hurts and he's 34. And if you're trying to be a champion, it is not worth it. And again, as a leader, they're asking too much from him or more than they've ever asked before. This is a unusual sacrifice that you're being asked to make because I just saw Bradley Chubb smoke his ACL when he did not need to be out there. You cannot improve your playoff seeding. You cannot. Your legacy is cemented. But in terms of this season, I know it's an unpopular opinion or an unpopular perspective, I guess is the word I would use, a perspective on all of this. I know it might be unpopular for most, but there's something bigger. You've been through it before, what it takes to repeat as a champion. And if Patrick, Pacheco, who knows what's going to happen with Donovan Smith, of course, if he wants to get back into the mix. But these are all guys who need a considerable amount of time because you didn't earn the bye. So I know it's 16 yards, and I know it's the Chargers. They're terrible. But I think there are bigger reasons at play because there's not enough reward for the risk involved in my perspective.
Ice Pyro for $2 says, "Here's a bribe, Mr. Lawyer Man." On that note, if you want to read more about the deep game, KL368, I will start the GoFundMe for Seth. I'll take that responsibility. I gotta figure out what someone at one point told me what the super chats I'll end up going to, and I forgot. So we'll circle back on that. The piece up in the newsletter right now, mnchiefsfan.substack.com, goes a little deeper on how the Chiefs' deep passing game can at least revitalize the offense throughout the rest of this season. I think you may have used the word save, Seth, if memory serves, and that's a big word for only being 4 letters. But this offense could use some saving. What do you guys, do you know what you have coming up from either of you yet in terms of the next few days? And then we'll be back again on Thursday.
I'm going to try something. I'm not sure if I'm going to land the plane, but I'm going to try it, guys. So that's the best I can offer right now.
Theathletic.com.
Mostly
at the Taylor on socials.
We'll see what the week presents.
Love it. Seth, what's next?
I'd really like to take a look at George Karlaftis a little bit. I haven't written about him in a while. Just because it's kind of a fun matchup with him in Orlando Brown, just because of the way Karlaftis rushes. Honestly, they didn't take advantage of it as much as I think they could have. They lined up Jones against him. I don't think that's a great matchup for Jones because Brown's one of the few players with the length and strength to not be bullied by him. But Karlaftis, just a couple snaps that I watched, and I want to see how many of it just drove him nuts a little bit because Karlaftis just never stops. And Orlando Brown, he's like, "Oh, you stopped me up there? Oh, then I'm going to come inside. Oh, It's like, it really is like, and I mean this in the most complimentary way possible.
I love it.
It's like if like a 7-year-old was rushing the passer with just but a 7-year-old that had just downed like an entire package of gummy worms and a 20-ounce bottle of Mountain Dew, and just like, oh, you're not gonna be able to stop it the whole time, and like just running back and forth and back and forth. So I want to look at that, and then I'll do the usual Mahomes film review. Maybe I'll show some really super slow-mo replays of the throw to MVS and be like, and right there is where you can see the body hitting him. And because Mahomes is not those twin dudes from the Matrix, he could not phase through him. That's right.
But instead of putting that in the article, just write that on a piece of paper and then mail it to one guy.
Yeah, so I've got a pretty busy week. I might not do 2 articles this week because on Wednesday evening, the family and I are flying down to sort of sunny. The weather's not going to be incredible. It's going to be nicer than where I'm at, where it's like 10 degrees. Anna Maria Island in the lovely Tampa Bay. Hopefully get together with a wonderful family that might live somewhere within an 80-mile radius, give or take. I actually don't know where they are, but I'm going to find them.
Good. So, the fact that so far you basically started doxing yourself makes me really glad that you don't know where my family lives, as we're really fleshing out your trip planning live on the show. It's like, I'll be on Anna Maria Island, and I'll be staying in the Sunny Spot Motel. I'll be in room 47, and I think we'll leave all our valuables in there, and then be generally away between the hours of, I would say, noon to 4.
I'll stop doxing myself.
No, or start. I mean, people can figure out where you live. It's fine.
So I'm going to be on vacation. I have not made a decision yet whether I'm going to be here on Thursday, because it might be one of the best weather days, guys. And I love you guys. And I love you, dear listeners. But, I love manatees too.
Ooh, somebody got to experience a little bit ago.
Yeah, my manatee that became a great prop is downstairs right now, so. T-Bone asks, Seth, can you get my speeding ticket dismissed for faulty equipment? Can you help people get out of speeding tickets?
I could, but I choose not to.
But you could, though. Is that only in Minnesota? Can I come have my own personal purge in Minnesota, and you can just get me off scot-free?
Since I'm only in Hubbard County, but
okay. But so if I get to Hubbard County, I can just go wild.
Get to that state line and just go full Lethal Weapon 2 diplomatic immunity and just stand at the border, diplomatic immunity.
65 miles north per Miss Brisco. Shout out to Josh's mom. Whoop, whoop.
Hey, don't put your address in the comments. Seth's already playing with fire enough. All right, well, I don't need a super chat to tell you guys it's time to get the hell out of here. So happy New Year, everybody. Nate, put a button on it.
All right. It is 2024. Thank you so much for staying with us, for listening, for being along for the laughs. We're here. We're on YouTube. We're live. Thank you, Lord, for another day.
Amen.
I do want to give a quick shout out. I know she doesn't listen, Matt. I know. But I met Matt and Catherine after the game yesterday. They were a lovely couple.
Do you have their address?
No, but
I thought that's what we do here. Sorry.
I will get that to you. Catherine doesn't totally listen to the show, so I'm sure she's going to hear this, but it was very nice to meet you. She is a new-ish Chiefs fan because of Matt, which is also the beauty of sports in a lot of ways. And so I definitely wanted to give them the recognition that they deserved. And lastly, guys, in journalism, they teach you to ask a question and then shut the hell up. Okay? You do not interrupt the subject. And sometimes, like yesterday, all right, Legarius, I know you want to talk. You know that I know you want to talk. Okay? My job is to ask a question and then just back out. Now, again, credit to Aaron Lack because he's framing it up beautifully for the internet to feast upon. But the last thing I want to mention, and I really did learn this from this person because I watched it and I marveled the same way that most people, I guess, did on the internet. I asked the Jerry, hey, man, you got anything you want to say? Because I'm sure you heard what he said. Guys, sometimes you go up to the player for one quote. One. Now, it might take us 12 questions to get there, but we're really only there for one quote. And when that man said, check the stats, seen, job done. This is why I'm here, to get the information and the back and forth that you people crave. Okay? I didn't need to say another word. That's why I said, I can stand on that. We're done here. We're done, Legarius. Go home. Have a nice night. We're done here. And the person who did that all the time was Therese Paylor. Therese Paylor would always hit him with the, okay. Now, he might put an okay on it, which I chose not to do. But that was me hearkening back to, I got my quote. We're done here. I don't need to, anybody else want to ask any questions? Because I think we're good. I think we're good, guys. So it brought a tickle to me that I came home and showed Holly a bunch of the clips, and then I went back and watched some of Therese's funniest moments, and I was like, yeah, that is me. Like, I'm literally taking that and applying it here, because I knew in the moment, how do I answer this question in a way for Legarius to clap back at this man? How do I do it? How do I do it, Lord? How do I do it? What you want to say, Legarius? And this man, and I saw somebody in the comments say it earlier, well, Legarius is succinct. Yes, he is. That's why it's harder than usual. So, hey, dog, what did y'all talk after the game? Did you say anything? What you do? Yeah, check the stats. We're done here, kids. We're done here. Yeah. We're done. Legarius, go celebrate. Do your thing. That was fun. I guess people really like my mustache. Or my facial hair. I didn't know this was how 2024 was going to be ringing as well, but
that is a good mustache.
Thanks, man. It's by the grace of God.
Yeah. Well, you have to understand, coming from me being physically incapable of growing a mustache I'm easy to impress.